Welcome to Stranger Connections, where I celebrate wonderfully weird people and quirky stories. I'm your curious beast and host, Lisa David Olson, the practically world famous business humorist, interactive speaker, and speaker coach. If you're looking to get to the TEDx stage, let me know, or bring me to your event to get everyone reignited and enhance your communication. That's me. But enough about me. My guest today likes to eat and talk about it. And who doesn't? I've got some questions for this gentleman. He's a passionate food enthusiast, and he blends the world of psychology with food. And some of the reviews he writes in his brand new book, A Feast for the Senses: The Psychology of Eating Well, sounds to me more like a cookbook married 50 Shades of Grey. Please welcome Jared Gleaton. Thanks for being on Stranger Connections. How was that?
Oh, that was good. The darker side of eating. That's sensual. It's dirty. I love it.
Dirty. Do you like the word moist?
Oh, I do. Moist is a good word that I
Moist
think
is
has
good.
unfortunately got a bad rap, but like wrapping your lips around a nice moist piece of chocolate cake as it just dances on
Ooh,
the palate and the,
yes.
the richness hits and then the buttercream softens the dark chocolate taste and it blends perfectly. Oh,
Yeah.
and the texture, that moistness. But instead it's moist. And then you're like, oh,
It's all in
oh
how you
no. It's all
interpret
about the
it.
delivery. It's all about the
That was
delivery.
awesome. I am so thrilled to have you. And I did read your book, A Feast for the Senses, that is brand new, and people can find it on Amazon, right?
They can find it on Amazon. We have the ebook coming out next week. I even have an audiobook that's going to be on the way on Audible. And so I'm so excited for that.
Fun. That is awesome. Well, two of my sons do cook in restaurants, so I was very attracted to finding out that you're a doggy daddy, a blogger, psychologist, and a food critic.
Yes, I am.
And that I loved reading about how your dad got you so excited about food. And the fact that you were with your dad more than your mom is so cool because my husband, he has three sons and I have two. So together we have five if you're playing along with your calculator. And food is the big deal when you get together and who made what. So tell us about that, the beginning of your appreciation for that of putting ingredients together and enjoying them.
Well, it's one of those. It's a great story, and just when you say food is a gathering, somebody asked me recently, "What is food? Define food," and I just say, "Food is us.
Mm.
Food is us. All that it entails," and it's left open to interpretation. But yes, so my dad, William Schofield Gleaton, he was the starving artist, eccentric. So he was an artist, and he would make just Pennsylvania dishes like shoe fly pie, his I like to call it his famous squash pie. There was no pumpkin in it, there was squash, and it was full of fat and deliciousness. And early on, I didn't have a developed palate, so he would throw in cloves and cardamom and a bunch of spices. Then I just wanted, give me cinnamon, give me simple, give me plain, and it helped develop my appreciation if I got a slice, because the old man would he'd just sit there and he had an endless stomach and he'd eat a whole pie a night and I'd have a slice and then
Oh,
he'd eat my pie. And that's how it sort of went. And things like fried rice, but it's not Chinese fried rice. It's she put a lob of butter in this pan and then just fried rice to a crispy brown and throw in some eggs and that's what he sort of done. He would even do something chip beef, but he didn't call it chip beef. He called it ship. Remove the P and on a shingle. Ship on a shingle is what he
oh,
called it. It's old
funny.
Pennsylvania Dutch cooking and whoopie
We
pie.
have that around here in the Midwest, but it's
Yeah.
shit on a shingle and we call it
Well,
SOS.
it is okay. So I didn't know if I could say shit. It is absolutely shit on a shingle.
If we say moist, we're following up with shit,
All right. Well, shit's
obviously.
fine. Then it was called shit on a shingle, and these are things that I sort of grew up with, and something that he would cook on his own, and it just sort of helped shape my food. And then just knowing that whenever I visited my mother and visited extended family members, they took me to a different side of fine dining because my dad was never taking me to fine dining. Our highest fine dining was maybe Golden Corral here in
Ooh.
Oklahoma.
I
And
love
my
it.
dad loved the buffet. So, but he got me
Yes.
interested in food. And so it's been years since I've been to a buffet, but that's where it all started.
Can you imagine you now going to a buffet and having to write up? like somebody says, I'm going to give you $1 million, Jared, and you're going to go to this buffet.
Oh, I'm for sale. I go to a buffet for $500. You give me $500, I'll go to a buffet. I'm not gonna sit there and discriminate. That maybe I
Right.
need to value myself a little bit more than than $500. But I this is a great point. It doesn't matter if it's McDonald's. It doesn't matter if it's a buffet. You critique it, and that's how I take it. You critique it for what it is, and it's honest. And people can say, well, it's a buffet. So what? They can still put out a good product.
Well, I want to know, when you go to the restaurants, do they know you are a food critic?
Well, I don't know. I think the gig is up to an extent, but some of them don't care, some of them don't mind, some of them try and put their best foot forward. And there's that question of, Ruth Reichel and Gail Green, they hide their persona. And I'm a little more out there, I'd say, but I would say that even I score atmosphere, I score service, but it can be pretty quickly and apparent. Have you worked on service, and you having a day's notice or a few days notice, you're not going to be able to shore up the service to make it incredible, even if you know who I am. You're not going to be
Not in
able to
today's
shore
world.
up. Yeah, you're not able to shore up the atmosphere if it's not the atmosphere you're trying to go for or you think is good. Even the food, you're not going to be able to change your flavor profiles if the composition of the food isn't already there. So, yes, some anonymity is good to be sure,
Yeah.
but I found that some of them do know, but you know, I haven't really actually had it. I've only had one negative experience, or what I thought was a really negative experience with a restaurant owner, not so much a chef,
Mm.
because that's the key, I think, developing relationships with the chefs. And when they read the reviews, they know the intent is to not be a dick. It's not to rip them apart for who or what they are. Instead, it's just to talk about a meaningful critique of the food and understand that I'm not in the industry. And by taking ownership of what we don't know, it expands our mind to what we're willing to learn. And it adds with it a bit of humility.
Fantastic. I
And
I love what you said, and I wonder if they know, because they could, jazz it up, make the plate more so or bigger or better. And I was a food critic for a short time, and we used to, my gal pals and I would get together and call it wine and dine, but it was spelled wine like you're whining.
I like
And
that.
aren't we clever? And we
Yeah.
would get together for lunch and have a binder that said food critic group and leave
Mhm.
it out on purpose. We weren't really critics. We just wanted free dessert, and it worked a lot. And we got really good service. Is that so wrong of me?
No, I don't say it's wrong of you. I think that we all can have fun with it. And
Lying to get dessert.
well, I've had some meals comped, but one thing I've learned, and the restaurants learned, and this is where I've developed my reputation, is even if something's comped, I'm still going to give my honest critique. It's not going to be
Right.
um mean, but I'm not there necessarily for promotion. I'm there for an honest critique of it and what
Speaking
is
of
going on.
critique, what do you think of the salad that my son just put out? This is their chicken. He did a blueberry dressing, poppy seed blueberry dressing.
That's absolutely beautiful. I love the contrasting of the green color. I love the blue that's in there. Or is it black?
Yeah,
Uh,
there's I know it's hard on a
yes, it's
picture.
absolutely blue. And what is in the middle?
We've got a chicken breast, hard to see
Chicken breast.
over the face,
So,
and we've got
you know,
edible marigolds.
if you want me to give you an honest critique of it, I will.
Yes, I do.
A lot is going on that plate, and the plate is part of the visual design. So make this portion in the size smaller so we can bring forward the chicken breast, have the chicken breast raised a little bit, and have some of the white peeking out around it so the contrast of colors come through, and so it doesn't look as cluttered and as busy going on, because the eye is drawn to one thing immediately no matter
Hmm.
what it is. And that's a
Okay, and
psychological
that's why
thing.
they do height then. And is this why we do the big plate with the little thing in it?
To an extent, yes, it's all about aesthetically pleasing. It's trying to draw the eye in. A lot of psychology goes into this. And so whenever you're plating, there's a whole art to it. And we eat with our eyes first, but we don't always eat with our eyes. We eat with the first thing that we come in with to a restaurant. Sometimes it's hearing, sometimes it's temperature, so you're feeling. Sometimes it's the smell. When we say eat with the eyes, there's a lot going on before we even sit down to a plate. So when you see
Hmm.
that plate, I see it and my eyes are going all over the place trying to search and decipher what it is. What really is successful is the first thing is, wow, visual stunning, instead of, oh, cool, let me look around to try and analyze. So that would be the critique.
Love that. And you're right. Everything is right. And when it comes to joining your psychology brain to your food brain,
Hmm.
and you call that foodology,
Yep,
what
it's
is
not my
that like?
concept.
What's
It's so
that?
it's not my concept. I just have to be honest. It's out there, but that's sort of, it's called gastronomy.
Yes,
But I think
yes,
gastronomy is overused. I like the idea of foodology. I'm trying to bring it down to people.
yes.
And so what it's like is it's a fascinating interplay because it helps you with self-discovery. It helps you realize what is going on. It makes you stop and think. I was just in a restaurant yesterday, I walked in and I thought, ooh, it's a little chilly. And I thought, I wonder if it's going to be chilly. But then I had to think to myself, I understand it might be a little cold. Let's not let that impact the food. So that is sort of what the interplay is just all about self-awareness and realizing within yourself, but it also expands your mind. And it expands your palate and understanding. It's all about taking that the five senses and discovering it yourself, and then you can apply that to other parts of your life. It's really cool.
Yes. And when you say that about first walking in, I recently went to a restaurant I hadn't been to for about 3 years. And when I walked in, I smelled perfume, and it turned out they were using this spray when they clean the tables, and it was almost like a plug-in scent, and that horrifies
Mhm.
me. Like it'll send me into a migraine. I want to smell your food. I want to smell, it was Mexican. I didn't smell the food, and just this perfume hit me, and I thought maybe it was a person passing, so we stayed, but I did write to them. I don't know. They didn't write back, but they did see the notes. That's kind of weird. But you're right. Yeah, the first impression matters. The greeting matters. Give me a
Mhm.
water right away or acknowledge that I exist, I think.
Well, here's an interesting statistic. I can't remember what the exact percentage is, but anxiety over the last 4 years, diagnosable anxiety is up a tremendous percentage, a high percentage. And we all have anxieties. It just depends on whether it's diagnosed, it reaches the level of diagnosis. A lot of people don't like cramped spaces or loud spaces. You walk into a restaurant that could have present the most incredible food and incredible service, but it is loud, it is busy, your anxiety kicks in, and the chemical reaction can help, it can actually change how you perceive taste. And so you're
Wow.
already predetermined to potentially not like this because your anxiety, you're already in a state of uncomfort. And that is an implicit reaction. That's not a reaction you can control unless you've gone through and discovered that within yourself. And so
That's
that's part
just
of,
crazy. That's so
yeah,
much. Now I'm going to overthink when I go to eat. You just raised my anxiety.
there you go. And so that's the whole crux of it all, is just that self discovery, because there's implicit explicit bias. The implicit bias are reactions that we don't know about, but if you at least get thinking about it, you can make those changes within yourself to broaden your horizons.
So awareness and kind of just dare yourself. I love to say dare yourself. So dare yourself. Like what about trying something new? That's in your book too. You talk about that. You're like, well, I was predisposed to not enjoy this, but I told myself I'm going to try it. Is it true our taste buds change I used to tell my boys, but your taste buds change, so try it now. Did I
Every
lie to my
about
children?
Science shows about 10 years they change.
Oh,
And
10 years.
about 10 years, but that
Oh.
doesn't mean that it's not about taste buds so much as, and when I say taste buds, it's like you might have a more propensity towards sweet, more less sweets, more salty. That's sort of what that's talking about from what I understand. We are all from our environment and biology hardwired early on to be pattern seeking. So we go to a restaurant, we eat food, and we like it. So therefore, our minds immediately say, gravitate towards what we like because that is comfort. And change creates dissonance. And even a little microscopic change like, do I want sweet potato fries over French fries? Creates some sort of dissonance because you're about to spend money or your food, your hunger on something you're not sure you're going to like, and a fear grips you of the negative outcome. So you're going to then go back to what is safe because that's what you've done all your life.
Hmm. And we call that the French fry fear factor.
Well, it's the easiest thing to really that's a good one. It's the easiest thing. It's we the fear of the unknown. We
Yes.
allow the fear of the unknown to steal our glory and the possibilities. So now when I go to restaurants, I'll look at the menu, but I just tell the restaurant, the waitress or whomever is serving me, bring me a couple appetizers, a couple entrees, and a dessert that you think best represents your restaurant.
Whoa. That's
It doesn't
awesome.
matter. It doesn't matter if it's something that I think I like, because if I go to a restaurant and I want to critique it, I'm like, I know I want to critique the steak. I'm already predetermined, or there's a bias there. Either I'm going to like the steak or not like the steak, instead of being open to other things. And so I'm just open to whatever comes my way. And even if it's a food that I don't personally like, doesn't mean that I can't critique it, because let's just say I don't like cod. It's
Hmm.
flaky, it's moist, it's
Mm.
delicate, cooked well, the flavor profile with the seasoning works well. This is an excellent dish. Now, does that mean I would order it on my own volition? No, but it is objectively, in a subjective way, a good, well prepared dish, and others can grasp onto that because they don't need to know, well, I like it or I don't like it. Well, that's not telling anyone anything. That's telling me what I feel about the dish. Why don't we talk
Love
about what the
that.
dish is?
You make it more than filling your belly. And it should be. We're not
It,
supposed to inhale while we're watching the game.
well,
But
and that's the next question, is quality versus quantity.
mhm.
Cost, does the cost of a meal mean the restaurant or the food is good?
Right.
It's an interesting question, because, as you say, food is ultimately sustenance to survive. I mean, you could say that's the basic Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need food to live. But we've taken that farther. There's it's much more complex than that. And so the question then becomes, what is good? What is quality? What is quantity? I'm based in Oklahoma, and this is the mentality of Oklahoma that is slowly changing. Oklahomans want Michelin quality food at Golden Corral portions for Applebee
Ah,
prices.
that's funny.
It is funny.
Oh,
I stole
man.
that from Chef Amanda Simcoe.
That is
It's not
beautiful.
That is beautiful. But that is something that needs to change. It needs to change to, I want very good quality
Yeah.
for reasonable prices, and understanding it does not need to stuff me to my gills.
Yeah, I don't have to leave with a takeout container because I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm just gonna throw it away in 3 days anyway. I don't ever eat my leftovers. But, yeah, I'd rather enjoy my meal in that moment and not get a whole bunch of stuff that I have to take home. That doesn't impress me, but I
That
don't wanna be hungry. What
no.
if we made a show, and maybe this exists, tell me if it does, yourself as a critic and another critic, and then there's a wall between you and you go toe to toe, and then you go to the camera like they did on Survivor, where you're alone in the woods. You
Mhm.
don't have to be in the woods. You're probably naked in this. But anyway, and
Well,
you tell your critique, and then that person tells their critique, and we see how much matches or,
Oh,
you
I
know
think that that would be a lot of fun, especially if you did it with a restaurant that'd be open to that.
Yeah.
It would
Wouldn't that be
be
awesome?
and you either can try and find two different critics that are different philosophies, different viewpoints, and just see how it goes. That would be, oh,
Yes.
NBC would jump at that shit in a heartbeat.
Well, I better reach out before you steal it because you already
Well, no, I
quoted 2
can't.
different people,
No,
so
I got a just as good a one. Think it's not out there. I don't have $1 million to create this, but think dating application for food.
whoa.
Restaurants. How many times have you heard people, well, I don't know where I want to eat. Where do I want to eat, babe? I don't know where I want to eat, guy. And you could just sit in there, fill out 10 questions, and it matches you with not Olive Garden, but a chain restaurant that's local that hits you for what you're looking for.
I
Romance,
love it.
fine dining, a quick bite. And I'm in the process of working a website that does just that on just a small scale for Tulsa and Oklahoma City.
Seriously,
Yeah.
I'm in. Well, we gotta remind people your book is A Feast for the Senses, The
Mhm.
Psychology of Eating Well. It's Jared Gleaton of
Yep.
Jared Gleaton Eats, so we
Yep.
can see you on the YouTubes and check that out. I'm running short on time. I hate to do that, but I really need to find out your prank or dare story before I let you go.
So it's more of a prank. So I didn't know what Mexican chocolate was about 5 years ago. And I was at a restaurant and they knew me at the restaurant and it was in Texas.
And what is the
And
chocolate called? We kind of cut out.
so it's Mexican chocolate.
Oh, Mexican. Okay.
But there's different variations of it. It's supposed to be spicy. And they said, well, we want to make you a ganache for dessert. And I thought, ooh, oh, it's going to be fun. And I knew the people that invited me down there. And this is before I was a critic, this is before anything. And what I didn't realize is they were testing out a new ghost pepper chili.
Come on, that's
And I
not
thought it was
dessert.
cinnamon and it was interesting because I it was made with beautiful chocolates and it had beautiful heavy cream and I took a bite of it and I was like, oh, this is good. This is and I was all like all into it and I was like, oh, there's
Is
some
that really how
cinnamon
you
in
eat? You
there.
numma 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 numma?
Well, I'm a dessert fiend, and that's something that
Yes,
I work on in my critiques, is because I
that's
know I have a
right.
sweeter tooth, so I have to balance it out when I critique it. So I'm like, and it's all happy and good. You could say it's moist, and
Yes,
I
yes, you
taste the
could.
cinnamon, I taste the chocolate, and it was delayed. And then I got a little
Oh.
tingle. I got a tingle, and I
Hence the
thought to
word ghost
myself,
of it,
yeah,
because it
and
sneaks up.
I got a tingle, and I was like, well, what is this? I was like, oh, there's a little heat. Oh no, I
Oh
thought there would be a
no.
little heat. There wasn't a little heat. There was my eyes began to water and they're sitting there and they're laughing and I'm like, "Oh my goodness." I grab water and you don't want water because water just spreads the oil over your tongue even more. I drink some water. They gave me milk. Milk didn't help the situation, but the point is this. It was still really good chocolate. You know,
Holy guacamole, that was not a mole sauce.
it was not a moly sauce. It was good chocolate. It was a
Because I think of that mole sauce has that sweet and a little bit of spice, but was the
yeah.
whole kitchen like hidden off in the corner, kind of pointing at the guy
No,
making the faces?
it was more or less they were just chuckling. That it wasn't the kitchen. It was just the guy I was with. He was just chuckling. He said, "We thought you'd like that," and I was just like,
Oh my
"I liked the
gosh.
first 30 seconds." Said I didn't. I said, I guess that's how women sometimes feel. It was just
Yeah, you're like,
horrible.
holy Taco Bell. I'm running for the
Exactly.
border.
It was
That's
bad.
so bad.
It was. But you know what?
Oh,
I still sat there and said it. I wouldn't try it again, but I'm not going to knock it. It's a little
right.
spicy. I told him it was a little hot.
Oh my goodness. You told him it was a little hot because you're trying to be all brave.
I was trying to be all, there was no, so you know what? My words came out, but my red face, my eyes, and my nose leaking did not tell the story that my mouth was trying to.
I love it. Oh, and I do want to say too, and I think you would align with this. My husband, when we're traveling, doesn't like to. We avoid going to any chain restaurants. You got to try the mom and pop or the
Yep.
diner or the local. We always ask where do the locals eat and that kind of thing. So that
Yes,
that kind of makes it more fun and less predictable.
it absolutely does. Whenever I see, oh, we've got an Olive Garden coming here, my heart sinks, and I'm just like, surely there's something better, or just,
So many breadsticks, man. So many
oh.
breadsticks.
And the sad thing is that we have a local place that does fresh made Alfredo and a Parmesan cheese bowl. Now I think it's like
Oh,
$23. That's not the cheapest thing on planet Earth, but when I saw Olive Garden was 17.95 for their Alfredo, I'm like, well, that $5 is a lot percentage wise more, but it's so much better. It's not. Come on now.
right.
Come on now.
Well, somebody had to open that can.
Well,
But if you were to open a restaurant, what would it be, genre-wise?
what would it be genre wise? I would mimic a little place called Et al here in Tulsa, and that is I would love to bring in a main chef who does meals monthly.
Mm,
40 seats Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And what I would want is, a 5 o'clock show and a 8 o'clock show, something like that. And it'd be 10 courses with
my
wine pairing, drink
gosh.
pairing, and really mocktail pairing as well. So that's how I'd want to do it. But what I would want to do is, of course, seasonal things, but I want to highlight and feature a local chef every month to come in and they'd collaborate and work together or at least develop a menu together to say, this is Chef John and Chef Serena's month of May collaboration. So therefore it's highlighting the different chefs in there and it's constantly changing.
You had that answer at the ready. That was fantastic. I'd go
Wait,
there.
it's I could sit there and duplicate something else, but it's duplicating what somebody's doing, and they do collaboration dinners are popular here in Tulsa. They're popping up at these fine dining restaurants
So
instead of just
cool.
offering the menu as saying, well, come to our wine dinner. And that's usually once a month. I thought, why not make that the theme of your restaurant and then bring in talent to work together in a fun collaboration, bring the community together to highlight it.
Well, I've been a comedy writer for more years than I haven't, and I immediately picture that they're in a fight, but they still have to make the food good and
Yeah,
all that could happen behind the scenes. Oh, I got another pitch for NBC, I guess.
that
Hmm.
that would be a good one. Let me know how it goes. I'll if you can get that passed, I'll definitely be a critic on there.
Exactly. I got some work to do.
Yeah.
It has been a joy to have Jared Gleaton of Jared Gleaton Eats on Stranger Connections. But remember, Jared, that we can only be strangers once. And I
That's,
invite you to stay weird.
I don't know any other way. Normal is boring.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.